Hey guys, it's Kelsey, and I am back with another Stamp With Me process video. I think I skipped last month. I don't remember stamping last month at all, so I'm going to make sure to do both of the Stamp With Me's this month. I am using Maggie Holmes' Chasing Dreams. I think I mentioned it in the first Christmas video. I have 4 Christmas layouts to do this month, and I've done them. So I spaced them out throughout the month. So for the remainder of the month, I will be digging into my 12 by 12 paper pads that are in my stash. I'm trying to do a lot of stash digging for the rest of the month. So hopefully you guys will enjoy seeing some older products, some things that are not Felicity Jane, because I know I've been scrapping predominantly Felicity Jane for a minute now, and as much as I love them, I don't want it to get boring. So we have some older stash today and the rest of the month. Stay tuned for January. January is going to be a big stash busting month, and if you want to play along, grab all your 6x6 paper pads. That's all I'm going to say. But for this one, I have one 4x6 to scrap. This is a photo, again, of the Horsemen's Association at UGA. The photos I'm in chronologically going backwards are when I was a senior in college. I was president of the Horsemen's Association. So you're going to see a lot of these types of photos. And in the photos where I have a lot of my classmates and club members, I just don't know if they're going to want to be on YouTube. So you will see these papers going over their faces just for a little courtesy. Thank you, Ronnie, for explaining to me how to blur faces on the YouTube videos. I can't figure out how to do it. I can't figure out how to do it. I think it's because you have to do it on a computer, and I do everything from my phone. I don't know if it has options on the phone. If someone uses a phone and knows how to blur photos, or you know what I mean, faces, let me know. But until then, I'm just going to go ahead and do the whole paper scrap thing over the faces, and then I'll take the paper off at the end so you can see the close-ups without that on. I'll just blur the faces in the still photos. Anywho, just going through here, pulling out some scraps. This particular photo is when we were painting all of the jumps. So once a year, we host a horse show that benefits Georgia Equine Rescue League, and a local barn was kind enough to let us borrow all of their horse jumps with the condition that we repaint them for them. So I figured that was perfect. They get brand new painted jumps, and we have jumps to use for the horse show. So this was just paint night where we went out and we repainted all of their jumps. It was a lot of fun. I love this group of girls. It's just like the best group of friends you can have are horse girls in college. They're all so down to earth and fun. But I am doing Stamp With Me today, so we need to do some stamping, and I just could not find any stamps I wanted to use, which is a problem when you need to stamp on a layout. So what I decided to do was just drag my inks out of my stash and do something with the stamp pads instead. I used to ink around the edges all the time. I hardly do it anymore. So I wanted to make sure I at least did that, but I don't want that just to be what I'm doing for Stamp With Me. So I will incorporate the ink pads in another way, which you will see further down on the process video. I figured this was a good way to start getting an ink pad out. Because yes, our stamps can sit in our stash for a really long time without being used, but at the same time our ink pads can as well. So I am just trying to get ink pads on a layout this time. I decided to square up this mat a little more just so it wasn't that longer piece. Usually I do like when my layers are kind of longer and awkward and offset, but for this one I wanted this yellow to just completely frame up this photo, to have more of a square layering thing. And then you saw that strip of the pink unicorn paper I just cut a pink strip of because these are horses we're talking about. So I figured the unicorn would be on theme in that way. So I'm just getting all the scraps I had pulled out inked before I can glue them all down. You guys know I'm terrible at remember to ink everything, but I think on this layout, I think I inked everything because I always find a layer that I missed at the end, but I'm pretty sure on this one I got them all. But yeah, this is paint night, and that's why I chose this background. I thought this background was super fun because it just looks like a bunch of paint swipes. So I thought that was very on theme, and having that multicolored background pretty much allows me to pull in any of the colors from the rest of the collection. But I am trying to stick with more monochromatic tone-on-tone papers. So the white and yellow, the white and blue, and then the pink. I just don't want another multicolor to confuse everything because I already have this very busy painty background. But I'm just going through my scraps again, seeing what other solid kind of colors I can pull out. I was looking at this word sheet because I was wondering if I could maybe do a title from those words, but I really wanted to call it Paint Night because that's what we called it. And I didn't have enough of the letters on that sheet that I needed. But now that I have everything inked and I kind of have some layers down, I want to try and cut them to the portion I want. I know I wanted this blue check as the next one. I really like how the yellow lays on the blues. I'm really trying to keep the pattern paper for the rest of the page simple, because every time I tried to add something a little busier, it was just chaos with the background because this layout, the layers aren't too busy on this one, but just because there's so many different patterns and colors, it was starting to look busy to me, so I really tried to restrain myself a little bit. But that might just be me because I'm just not used to doing these super multicolor layouts. I really like my monochromatic layouts, or my 1 or 2 colors on a layout, and I know you guys see that a lot on Felicity Jane, which is why I'm happy I'm doing this, because it's pulling me in a direction I haven't really been in for a while. I did it a lot with Jenny when I got to use that Felicity Jane collection a couple months ago. But since then I've been doing the more monochromatic ones, so I need to get out of that box and do the more colorful ones. But one of the pages had a whole page of these they look like little Instax frames, but I decided to fussy cut a couple of them. I have a white one and a yellow one to use as embellishments. This is what I do enjoy about it's hit or miss. If I use an older paper pad in my stash and I only have the paper and no other embellishment for it, it can be really hard for me to finish a page because I just don't have what I usually have for my clusters. But what I do enjoy about a lot of these paper pads is many of the papers are fussy cuttable. I don't know if that's a word, but there are things on a lot of these pages that you can make into embellishments, and I really enjoy the process of that. So these frames I was able to cut apart. There's this page that's all just strips of tickets. So I decided to cut those apart too and use that as embellishment. So I'm trying to take advantage of any paper that I know is in the Chasing Dreams collection that I can kind of create my own embellishment for, since I don't have anything else from this collection. I'm going to go ahead and fold up these tickets as well, just so they look more like actual tickets. And again, I will ink the edges of all of those too. We didn't sell tickets to the horse show, but people had to enter, they had to register to compete. So I still thought it was kind of appropriate. So I figured they could go on there. And honestly, like this older stash, anything that goes on color-wise, I'm trying to get on here, because this month I really want to dig into a lot of the older paper pads I haven't touched in a while. You'll see quite a few Maggie Holmes paper pads because they've been sitting there for so long. And you guys know I avoid using my Maggie Holmes, and I have so much of it. So I'm trying to get it used up, trying to be good, because you know what? A couple months is Creativation. All the new collections are going to come out, and I'm going to want a couple of them. So in order to make room for that, I really want to get through a lot of this older stuff that's been sitting around, because especially once I get the new stuff, you know this is going to be forgotten about again until I need to do another one of these stash busting months. But now that I got the tickets inked and glued down, I'm going to start working on these frames. Again, inking them up. I'm thinking the yellow one will be in a cluster that I'll create in the upper left-hand corner. That corner is very empty, and I think having something there will balance the photo cluster in the bottom right-hand corner that you see. So I thought having the white one in the opposite corner on top of this photo, it'll stand out because it's white, and so the yellow would have kind of blended in. But I think that'll give me a really nice base for embellishing when I kind of get to that stage. But I'm out of my foam dimensional dots. I only have a couple left. So what I'm doing is I'm pretty much creating my own cardstock by trimming up a bunch of paper and just stacking it on top of each other. And it's more time consuming, obviously, than just sticking down a foam sticker that gives you that dimension immediately. But it's kind of nice because you can very specifically determine how thick or how much dimension you want these pieces. So I think I did like three or 4 layers of that scrap black paper, and it gives you really nice dimension on the page, but it's not in your face so much as the foam dimensional dots are, because sometimes those almost give you too much dimension. So that is really nice, and anyone who doesn't have foam in their stash to do this dimension, just use paper. You're gonna have to do a couple layers, but it really doesn't take that long, and I do really like the dimension that it gives you, especially if it's just scrap paper that you know you're not going to use it as dimension. But again, inking that up, and now I'm just trying to create my cluster up here. I'm trying to pull in scraps that I've already used in these other layers, just so everything's balanced. I want those colors represented somewhere else. I really don't think I need the white polka dot because the frame itself is yellow, so I feel like that color is up there, but I definitely wanted the blue plaid, and I definitely want to pull in some kind of pinky orangey tone just from the bottom of the page. So I'm just looking at what I have. I had a scrap of this ticket, the same ticket strip I used on the bottom, so I'm going to pull that up there as well. And I think that's a nice little base to anchor this frame up here at the top. And I think that really helps balance all the colors. And I'm just gonna have both my frames on an angle. Everything's very squared up right now, and with the messy painting background, and I don't know, I think it was all looking too square, which can sometimes look boring. So I'm gonna put both of these frames on a slight angle just to add a little bit of fun and kind of break up the squareness of all the layers I have so far. But again, just backing that piece with a couple scraps of paper to give it a little bit of dimension. And I'm happy with that placement, so I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. I definitely still need to worry about my title. I definitely need to do some journaling to explain what's going on. And I still want to try and stamp. You will see I tried. No one can say I did not try to stamp on this layout. I pulled out a stamp and die set. I had great intentions. I had a scrap of this wood grain left from this collection, and I thought if I could stamp and die cut something from this wood grain, maybe one thing to have on each of these frames in a cluster, that would be a great way to do the stamp with me. So I did try. I did try, but I did not like it. So that's why I kind of changed gears, and instead of doing actual stamping, tried to do something else with the ink pad. But you'll see me just stamping a couple things. I thought maybe if I had this deer on one frame and then maybe this feather in the other frame, I could pull in my stamping that way. But I did it in black, which I don't know if maybe if I did it in brown I would have liked it better. But once I die cut these, I didn't like them. They just looked weird. They didn't go with the rest of the layout. Yeah, maybe if I did them in brown or another color, I don't know, but I didn't like it. So you'll see me go through the process. I figured I'd leave it in so you could see my whole process of what I was thinking and what I tried. I'm just going to run it through my little diamond press tabletop die cutter here, and you'll see what I mean. I don't know, man. They just they kind of, part of it is they kind of die cut messily. As nice as it is that these stamp and die cuts come together, I haven't perfected how you space them, because even though you can see through the middle of these dies, there's still a lip of this metal where you really can't see the exact edge of the die, and so it kind of is offset a little bit. So I don't know how much you can see it, but that was bothering me as well. And then because like the deer especially, because it was an all black stamp and the die pretty much cut it out like just to the black, you lost the wood grain effect anyways. So yeah, and I think if I would have had more of that wood grain to use, I would have tried again, but those were scraps I was using and I didn't have enough left to try it again. So I was like, you know what, we're not stamping on this one. I am going to pull in some wood veneer so I get that same wood look that I was going for with that scrap paper, but instead I'm going to color the wood veneer with my ink pad. So you'll see this in a minute. I'm going in with my Distress Oxide in Vintage Photo. It's just a softer brown than the other ink pad I've been using on the rest of the page. What I'm inking everything with is frayed burlap, but that's a lot darker of a brown, and when you ink it in a bigger spot, it kind of reads green a little bit. It's definitely brown, but it has this weird green undertone if you use it. Like if I were to color these wood veneer, I think it would have been a weird color. So I'm using this this other ink pad, but because it's a Distress Oxide and not the normal ink pad, it kind of gave me some trouble. So I'm just trying to get these wood veneer inked as best as I can. But I like that, and it changes the wood veneer a little bit, adds that brown tone I was looking for, and it got my ink pads used up in a different way, even if it wasn't stamping. So I tried. I did something different. But I have this camera, this horse, and these 3 little wood veneer hearts. So I'm planning to just have those in 2 groups on each of these frames. And that would kind of be my embellishment. While those are drying though, because I feel like the Distress Oxide is more of a pigment ink versus a ink. I don't know if that makes sense, but it takes longer to dry, and the ink was transferring when I was touching the wood veneer, so I'm just trying to give it more of a time to sit. So I decided to go back and try to add a little bit more layers. I really wanted to pull in this darker peachy red pink from the background, so I found another strip of tickets that was that color, and so I'm just fussy cutting the tickets again. You'll see me, I don't know if I even fold these up again or not, but I'm just going to tuck that in as an additional horizontal layer underneath the pink unicorn paper, and then again I'll replicate it up at the top behind the yellow frame. But I figured I had to wait for the wood veneer to dry anyways from the ink, so I might as well try and do something else. And I still am avoiding trying to look for my alphabet because I know I'm going to have to go searching to find what I want. But yeah, just gonna ink all of that really good. I'm so proud of myself, you guys. I feel like I did so good remembering to ink everything. I can't remember the last time that I had intentions to ink everything on a layout and actually inked everything on a layout. But yeah, so I'm gonna tuck that up under there. I know my title, what I'm kind of trying to avoid is I know I kind of want my title on the top of the blue plaid on the background, and so I'm trying to think of what kind of title can stand you can see clearly on the multicolored painty background, and I don't know, I just feel like that would be a chore to try and find something, but I actually found something. It didn't take me too long, and it actually worked out really well, so you'll see that in a minute what I ended up going with. But because the wood veneer adds more of this brown, which granted everything is inked in a brown, but I feel like it looked a little confusing that I added that much brown when you could barely see the inked edges brown, so I wanted something else brown. Anyways, you'll see what I mean when I go in and pick my title out, but that's just why I went with what I went with. But now that those are mostly dry, I am going to glue those on. I did take, you see, they're still not wanting to dry, and I really didn't want to glue these down and then have the ink smear everywhere, so I'm rubbing the tops of all of them with a scrap of a paper towel to try to get any of the ink that is still loose off. But yeah, it was a process. It wouldn't have been as bad, I think, if I used normal ink, but I really wanted this color, and I only had it in the Distress Oxide. But I'm just using my Tombow Mono Multi to glue all that down. I'm waiting for the glue to dry a little bit just so it won't be too messy if I put it down and it overflows. So while those are drying, I'm going to go ahead and do it, I guess. Camera and heart up in the yellow frame, and then horse and 2 little hearts in the other frame. These horses, I always get asked when I use these animal wood veneer. I got them a while ago. They were American Crafts brand, and I got them at Hobby Lobby, but I don't think they have them anymore. But if you Google like farm animal wood veneer or American Crafts animal wood veneer, you might be able to find them. There were a lot of horses, but it was a multi-pack. It had a lot of cows and like chickens and other animals in it as well, pigs. So it wasn't a pack of just the horses. But I always get questions about these cute little horse wood veneer, and I'm really sad because I think I only have one horse one left. I think the rest of them are like cows and chickens because I've used all the other ones. But yeah, if you were looking for those, you might be able to find them if you Google it. But yeah, glued those down, and then I just wanted another layery detail. And here's another thing from my stash. I have a lot of wood veneer, not wood veneer, washi. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name. And there's some that are specific to this collection that I bought for some reason that I like hardly ever use. So while I had this collection out, I pulled out some Maggie Holmes washi too, just to throw a couple strips down. But I found these alphabets and I thought they were perfect. They are wood grain tile alpha, and I just thought that was like, I could have asked for more. It pulls in more brown, so the brown of the wood veneer makes more sense, but because it's on this tile, you can see it very clearly. It's not going to get lost behind the background if I were to use like a white foam alphabet, because I feel like that would have been really busy, and I didn't want to introduce black because I've already inked everything and I'm using brown. So I found these. I'm pretty sure I got these at Tuesday mornings and I had not used them yet, so again, another thing that's been lost in my stash that I'm getting used up, and that makes me happy. And I think I did my journaling already. It just says a local barn was kind enough to let us borrow their jumps for our horse show under the condition that we give them a fresh coat of paint. All of us helped to get it done in time. Horsemen's Association at UGA, January 29, 2012. So that was the journaling that I did quickly there. And then there's just opening over here, and it still looked too boxy, so I'm throwing in a little scrap of a doily over here. I don't know if I like it or not. Maybe I'll remove it because I kind of feel like I want to do a cluster over there, but the cluster wouldn't make sense with the cluster I already have on the right side, so I'm still kind of debating about that. But here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out everyone else doing Stamp With Me and play along with us if you can. Get some stamps out of your stash and get them on a page. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.